Welcome back. A 3-year-old Florida boy fatally shot himself Tuesday using a gun that he found in the bedroom that he shared with his uncle. Jadara Spites, he was alone when he accidentally shot himself. This is the latest in a recent string of similar shootings. All involved children accidentally shooting themselves or someone else. Also Tuesday, again this week, a 7-year-old boy in Houston, Texas, was shot by his 5-year-old brother when their mother stepped away while the boys took a bath. The names of the two involved children haven't been released, but the older boy is expected to recover. Past Saturday, a 13-year-old boy shot his 6-year-old sister with a handgun they found in their Florida home. They were playing hide and seek at the time, the girl in critical but stable condition. April 30th, 5-year-old boy in Kentucky accidentally shot and killed his 2-year-old sister while playing with a rifle, get this, that was given to the 5-year-old boy as a gift. The gun that was used, a gift the boy received last year, it's called a Cricket. Now, if you don't know about this, don't blame yourself. I didn't either until this week. This Cricket is a rifle which is marketed to children with the slogan, "My First Rifle." I can't make this up. Some of these even available in hot pink to attract the young ladies out there. Now, visit to the Kids Corner page of their website shows some pretty questionable images. The web page has been taken down. Now, earlier in April, a 6-year-old in New Jersey, Brandon Holt, accidentally shot dead by a 4-year-old playmate who grabbed a rifle from his home. All told here, more than 71 children have been killed by guns just since Newtown. And I bring all this up because we talk about how hard things are in Washington, how difficult they are, and I hear all the questions about, oh, it's the media, and maybe the media does have a role to play. But when I hear the NRA standing up there and saying, oh my God, these violent images that are putting out there, and then, like many of you, the Daily News I thought did a pretty good job of it, it's NRA Kid Day, Youth Day, excuse me, where they bring kids in and they set them up so they get to shoot at their annual convention here, and these Crickets are there, marketed, and then they wonder how kids get indoctrinated into this stuff, and you're going to blame the cartoons? I mean, I just, the outrage, we're told, I think, as national public to get mad about maybe too many things, but this one is something that more than 90% of us agree is long overdue, that we have some background checks, just some practical background checks, and we're letting the folks, these people here, tell us where we should or shouldn't draw lines in society. It just drove me nuts. And I know you were covering this too, Andrew, earlier this week here, but we're talking about children. This shouldn't be too tough a road to hoe.
You know, it is, but I'm a little, I do have a little conflict on this because I learned to shoot when I was a Boy Scout. So I was maybe 10 or 11 years old. I'm older than a lot of the kids who we just featured in some of those tragic stories. So I think there may be a role for teaching kids in a responsible setting. But you're talking about these accidental shooting deaths where kids are getting their hands on guns. And in a lot of states, there are very loose laws for parental responsibility in a case like that. And I think that's an area that needs to be focused on also. Beefing up penalties for parents who leave these guns within reach of these kids.
How is it legal in this country to buy a gun for a 5-year-old? Can't buy, just think about it. You can't buy a kid a drink, you know, can't buy a kid a pack of smokes. Probably can't buy them trans fats in New York, okay? But my point is, you can buy a kid a gun, and that's legal. And when this happens, people wring their hands and say how tragic. I don't know. To me, Dom, this thing's spin off its axis. This has gone into this surreal world.
Well, I agree with you. It's the choir preaching to the choir right now. But in many of these states, like Andrew pointing out that he was 10 years old as a Boy Scout, in many of these states, these parents find absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, to me, it's mind-blowing. It's ridiculous, but that's the way it is, Richard.
But think about what DYFS is set up for, right? We've all covered stories about where DYFS has to go in, or they drop the ball or whatever, where you have unhealthy households. How is it healthy or legal that you can have kids in a household, but you shouldn't be required to either have a smart gun or a trigger lock on the gun or whatever else? And then I know you're not making the point, but then we get into this whole, no, 5-year-olds shouldn't be shooting 2-year-olds. This is stupid. We shouldn't be able to buy a 5-year-old a gun. This is crazy. Companies marketing to these same people, celebrated by the NRA, and then the NRA saying that the big bad government's going to come kick your door down and take your gun away. You worked with, it shouldn't be this hard to get this done here. And then you see these stories and you just throw your hands up that there is no shame on the NRA's part. They had a youth gun day after Newtown here. They set up an app where they showed kids to aim at targets that looked eerily similar to those white caskets after Newtown. So anybody still hoping that the NRA finds some conscience out of this, don't hold your breath. But yet Washington lives in fear.
You know, as a new father, and I look at this and I hear about these stories, it sickens me without question. But you know, you look at some of those 71, and some of them were drive-by shootings, others were illegal guns. I think those are issues that we have to be looking at. You know, I agree with parental rights. I learned how to shoot a .22 rifle when I was 10 years old, and my grandfather taught me responsible gun ownership. As a gun owner myself, responsible gun ownership. I think that, you know, there needs to be more of that, but we have to also really look at legal guns. And I know I've said this before, and I go back to Chicago with, you know, a lot of drive-by shootings. We've got to start going after these illegal guns.
But Anthony, for me, my argument when that comes up is we were never going to save all 71 of those kids since Newtown. And we make the argument about, well, whatever X, Y, or Z proposal is, it wouldn't have saved X number of the 71 that died. That's not the point. That shouldn't be the threshold. It's can you save 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever the number is of the 71. And then when we argue, well, when I was a kid, I learned, you know, I'm not taking away the guns. I'm saying this is insane. And we're fighting about video games when people can sell a kid a gun and make a buck off it, and the biggest lobbying organization for the gun industry is selling it at their annual fair.
Regardless of whether they're legal guns or illegal guns, I mean, keeping the guns away from the kids is going to be the responsibility of the parents, and I think that they should be prosecuted more vigorously in those cases. As for the NRA, they're advertising to kids and having Kids Day for the same reason that McDonald's is advertising to kids, because they're locking down the next generation of their people are going to be buying their products for the rest of their lives.
I get you, but a Big Mac ain't going to kill me.
And I don't think. Listen, I agree with you, and you know, maybe the New York State Legislature, if they're listening right now, that there should
enough probably.
probably. But you know what? There shouldn't be a pink or a purple gun. You know, I disagree with that. I think that you can. It's up to the parent to show their child responsible gun ownership. Probably not at 5 years old, and I don't think you should be selling guns that are colorful that look like toys.
Dom,
You can't market cigarettes to kids. You can't. I mean, there are some harmful things that we ban.
I think that that's responsible to
that
do
makes
something
sense
like that.
with
Sure.
guns too.
Dom, it's interesting voices that are resurrecting the gun debate here. I think it's, I put everything out of people doing things out of personal self-interest or survival mode here. They've seen the polls for 4 Republicans that changed their mind or voted against background checks, and in red states, they're down 10, 15, 20 points in the polls. Am I too optimistic to think something's going to get done here? The background check is going to go through?
I pray that you're right, but I don't think that you are. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that these lawmakers need the headaches of revisiting this issue. No matter what the polls show right now, I think the NRA is perceived as too powerful, and it's not going to happen.
Do you think somebody will lose their job, a lawmaker in Washington or many, because of the vote against the background check?
It may be part of it. Not the entire picture, but part of it.
Okay. All right. Now, on the subject of Washington, don't think it's just Albany that's dysfunctional. We're going to ask why a Capitol hearing room was empty, and trust me, it's not Benghazi here. Could it be because some nominations for even things like the EPA, of all things here, can't get confirmed because of petty politics? We'll talk about that after this.